So welcome Year 6 to your next Darwin's Dragons reading session. And we have now come to part 2. These islands appear paradises for the whole family of reptiles. That was taken from Charles Darwin's Beagle Diary on the 17th of September, 1835. So we're going to go chapter 7. When the sun disappeared, I finally dared to untangle myself from my seaweed camouflage and haul myself ashore once again. The wind had died and the moon was half full, with scraps of silver cloud crossing it wearily. I couldn't bear the thought of being seized by the sky beast again and dropped out to sea, this time in the dark. My lips were cracked from salt water. My ears were ringing, my fingertips were the texture of tree bark. I'd now lost both boots, but I was in one piece. I stumbled across the rocks, shaking warmth back into my arms. Where I'd swum further along the shoreline, there were fewer iguanas. Instead, there were scuttling red Sally Lightfoot crabs covering the rocks like a moving rag rug. The sound as they moved strangely reminded me of my Sunday school teacher's clicks of disapproval. Tut, tut. I needed shelter. I crouched for a moment, scanning above for any sign of the sky beast, either inland or out to sea. I was safe for now. Then I spotted something rolling in the surf. I knew that shape. I staggered back into the waves, scooped up that battered old fiddle case, still closed, with its wax seal unbroken, and hugged it to my chest. In that moment, I could not have been happier if I had found a knife, fire flints, or anything else I so dearly needed, because now I was not completely alone. Mr. Darwin might not be awfully keen on my tunes himself, but sailors love a shanty, which was how I'd ended up on board the Beagle in the first place. It wasn't the most tuneful of instruments. The young sir was right about that, but it had been my dad's. If you can survive scratch, then I can too, I whispered. There was a hitch in my voice because despite what the fiddle meant to me, I knew it must surely be ruined. Still, best be grateful for what I've got. I stumbled from the surf. When the clouds fluttered across the moon, it was frightful dark. I imagined the others about the ship, mending ropes, smoking their pipes. They must surely miss my jigs, and hymns would be very mean without any accompaniment. But would they miss them enough to come and look for me? I had to believe they would. I'd build a fire, make a signal. Mr. Darwin would have them row here as soon as the weather allowed, if the master was alive. Of course he was alive. They were all safe aboard the Beagle by now. I remembered the gale that had hit the Beagle 2 years before, when we were rounding Cape Horn, the southernmost point of Chile. The ship had been hit, beam on, directly in the side, and had nearly tipped right over, so half the deck was beneath water. For a teetering moment, all hands must have thought, as I had, that we were lost. Yet she had rolled upright again, and the sea had poured back out through her ports. I smiled at the thought. The Beagle would easily ride out a common squall. I picked up my pace as I hit scrubby grass, much more comfortable walking for my bare feet. The sky was still clear, although looking upwards made my heart race, expecting another attack. In the distance, the volcano was capped with a red glow, a cloud of smoke lit from below. The volcano was active. Mr. Darwin had always said how much he would like to witness an eruption. Well, he could keep it, and good luck to him, because it was the last thing I needed right now. I gripped Scratch tighter to my chest and strode on. If ever a time was right for a fit of the vapours, this was not it. Stay bricky. I found a cactus. I didn't know the name of it, but it was one of the smaller types with a central trunk, and then a branch either side at the top. It looked like a captain's brass candelabra even, which I'd seen on his table when serving Sunday dinners for the officers. I sat beneath it. Even though it would barely disguise me from above, and the spikes meant I couldn't even lean against it, but it was better than sitting in the open, and my legs felt like a pair of jellied eels. They were that exhausted. I laid the fiddle case over my knees. It didn't splotch with water when I tipped it. I couldn't bear to feel hopeful, nor to see Scratch ruined just yet. I'd leave that until morning, when I was feeling steadier. No food, no water skin, no knife, no fire flints, no canvas for shelter. Not one of the items I always packed for our shore expeditions. I had wished for adventure all those years ago as I left England, but not like this. I curled around Scratch's case, resting my cheek on the damp wood. When I closed my eyes, I felt the motion of the Beagle, as if I were back aboard, and how I wished I was in my hammock below decks. The creaks of the ship and snores of my crewmates, a strange but familiar lullaby. But somehow, there on the black volcanic rock, beneath a cactus so spiky I couldn't touch it, I slept. I emerged from a nightmare of my time overboard, of losing grip of the rope, of the marooning of the sky beast and my fantastical trip into the air. Something had woken me. A strange sound between a growl and a hoot, low and very close. Something touched my leg. And you'll have to wait until we come back to school for